Hello guys, this is Saruto Uchiha Storm here and welcome to my channel. Today I am doing What If Naruto Was the Black Dragon Emperor. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Part 22 Kiba's Punishment. Elemental Nations. We see the great village of Konoha the same night of the day that the blonde Uzumaki returned. The whole village is illuminated in a great celebration in tribute to his hero. Everyone has fun while Naruto and his friends are on the roof of the Hokage Tower having a great celebration with all their respective families. Naruto, I wonder how long he's been in the other world, the blonde wondered as he drank a glass of sake. Zarko, well, if my control over time is correct, exactly 5 days have passed, he said, surprising Naruto. Naruto, I didn't expect that, he said, worrying about the rating game. Rias's game is the next day and I'm still here, he said, but Kurama in his small form appeared. Kurama, don't worry, apparently the red-haired girl managed to get 15 more days, he said, to which the blonde looked at him confused. He left a clone to verify that his training went well. It seems that the Gremory was able to convince the bird to give him 2 weeks more in exchange for information about what happened the day we left, he said, and Naruto sighed in relief. Don't worry, you can stay a little longer. Naruto, I hope that time will be useful to you, he said, and then saw the fox and the dragon go to where the little bijus were. I have to think about what to do with them, he said with a smile, but he felt someone touch his shoulder and at the turning around he saw Sakura in her Hokage robe, who smiled at him. Wow, now that I see you in more detail, that robe looks great on you, Sakura-chan, he said with a smile. Sakura, thank you, it's a bit strange to think that the one who became Hokage was me and not you, she said as she looked more closely at the blonde. Although that black color suits you very well, she said calmly as he gave the blonde another glass. Let's toast to your return. Naruto, thanks, he said as they both clinked their glasses and then drank them. Tell me, Sakura-chan, do you feel better now? I asked, remembering how she seemed sick that morning. If you feel bad you shouldn't force yourself to come to the party, he said, a little worried. Sakura, don't worry, I'm fine, she said with a smile. It wasn't for nothing that I became the Hokage, he said with a slightly amused tone. It was just because of the fight. It's all been a long time since I used my Byakuya at that level, she said while looking at everyone at the party. How did you feel about meeting each other's families? Naruto, well, it's a bit strange to see the couples that were formed and to see their children, he said with a smile. I can say that the only one who already suspected was Shikamaru and Temari, but the others would never have expected them, he said while looking at the families have fun. Although I haven't seen Hinata and Kiba for a while and neither their families nor yours, he said looking at his partner who for a moment only put her hand on her abdomen and looked away. Sakura, well, you haven't met mine because I don't have one, she said, surprising Naruto. I never got married or had children, so I'm the only one of us who didn't form her personal life, she said with a sad smile. I always thought that when it was over the war we would all return to Konoha, that you would be the Hokage and I would marry Sasuke and have a family with him, but Sasuke left forever and for all these years I waited for you to come back to stop feeling alone, she said as she shed a tear. There are things that you don't know, Naruto. After you left many things changed between all of us, and well, I wouldn't know how to explain, she said, but was interrupted when someone came in yelling. Kiba, the alpha is here, he said with an arrogant tone. While you did a ridiculous dance I brought drinks, he said, showing bottles of sake. Hinata, good night, she said as she entered with Kato next to her and then went with Ino and have 10, leaving the child alone with her father. Naruto, wow, that was not what I expected, he said looking at the boy who had the marks of the Inuzuka clan and pearly eyes. It's a strange combination, he said, and saw his partner, but she had a bad face when she saw Kiba. What happens? Sakura, it's nothing, Naruto, I'm going with the girls, she said, and he just nodded with a smile. Have fun, she said, and then left. So the party continued with everything relatively calm. Everyone ate and drank while the children entertained themselves with video games or clones of Naruto who played with them whatever they could. But Naruto noticed something, and that was that the son of Kiba and Hinata remained always away from the other children and from him. Even when he tried to get closer, the child just ignored him and continued with his video games. Naruto, what happened to him, he said, seeing how the other children made their clones play with them while Kato just walked away from them. What do you think, Kira-chan, said the blonde to a little brown-haired girl of 1 year of age. This was Konohamaru, and Hanabi's daughter had her mother's eyes, and since they were both brown, their hair was too. It really surprises me how much everything has changed and how much the boys have achieved together with their families. Konohamaru, at least you managed to come back even if it's temporary, he said while taking 2 glasses of sake that Kiba was carrying on a tray, and you met everyone who would occupy the next generation, he said, passing a glass to the blonde, ignoring the angry look of the Inuzuka who followed his path. Naruto, you're right, the village will be in good hands when I leave, he said with his typical smile as he watched Shikamaru's son talk to a girl from Suna and Metal Lee talking to Gaara's son. Tell me Konohamaru, when you finish your cage training? Hanabi, Sakura-san said that in a month it will be her appointment, Hyuga said with a smile as she took her daughter from Naruto's arms. I have to feed her, she said, and then went with Hanabi's daughter. Konohamaru, sometimes I don't know what I did to make her of all people notice me, she said while she drank from her cup. Tell me Naruto, is there someone who catches your attention in that world where you live now? Naruto, I hadn't really thought about it yet, he said while an image of all his friends appeared in his mind, but then they disappeared leaving only the image of Sakura smiling at him. Even after all this I still haven't gotten her out of my heart, he said, and then looked at the place where the girls were and smiled when he saw Sakura laughing with the other girls. Actually, I'm waiting for the right moment to think about those things, he said to his former disciple. After all, I'm still young, he said as he continued to see the girls until Ino separated from the group to go with her husband, but as she walked past Kiba she suddenly fainted. Kiba, wow Ino, you're fine, he said as he grabbed the girl and then carried her bridal style. Sai, I'll take her to one of the rooms in the tower, I'll be back soon, he said, to which Sai nodded but always kept an eye on his wife. Ha, perfect, now I just have to. But he didn't finish when he felt a blow to his chest and went flying against one of the tables, leaving everyone in a state of shock, seeing how now the one who had Ino was Naruto. Shino, Naruto, what are you doing? Said the insect carrier when he saw how the blonde attacked his ex-teammates. Naruto, what an idiot do you think I am, Kiba? He asked as he handed Ino over to her husband. Did you forget that I'm the biggest censor in this village? He asked again as everyone looked at him confused except Hinata and Sakura, who were about to attack, but Naruto beat them to it. Choji, Naruto, calm down, what's going on? I asked while I made Karui protect his daughter. Perhaps the sake affected you a little. Shikamaru, Choji, he is a Jinchuriki, he doesn't get drunk unless that's what he wants, he said seriously while everyone was on guard just in case. Kato, what's the matter with you, you idiot, with what right do you attack my father? Said the young Inuzuka as he stood in front of Naruto with a kunai in his hand. Hinata, Kato, stop there, said the woman from her son, who just looked at her with disbelief. You don't know what's going on, so don't get involved. Kato, what is happening to you since this idiot arrived? You behave worse than normal with my dad, he said with a look full of anger. This man hit your husband and you don't do to defend him. You are pathetic, just like dad, he said. I wish you weren't my hand. I finished because he suddenly received a slap and was lifted by the neck by Naruto. Naruto, how can you talk like that about the woman who gave you life? He asked with a seriousness that made everyone tremble. She loves you above all things and you insult her, he said, and then threw the child to the ground where he was held for the Shukaku arena. The only pathetic one is you for believing in the words of trash like your father, he said, and everyone saw how Naruto's eyes turned red. I will show your father what happens to those who try to do what he did. Everyone looked at Naruto with some fear, but then they saw Kiba slowly get up from the rubble of the chair he crashed into. Kiba, what's wrong with you, imbecile, he said, but suddenly Naruto appeared in front of him and gave him a powerful blow to the abdomen, making him spit blood before he flew against the railing of the Hokage tower, and everyone swore to hear a sound of something breaking when Kiba's back hit the metal rod. He groaned as he fell to the ground, but it was barely audible due to the lack of air caused by the previous blow. But he didn't even have time to get up when Naruto reappeared in front of him and he grabbed his head and lifted him up, leaving him suspended in the air. How dare you, he said before spitting more blood, but everyone saw how Naruto threw the Inuzuka into the sky with force. Naruto, no, how dare you, he said as he clenched his fists and then jumped towards where he threw Kiba to try to rape Ino, he said while kicking him. That sent him to the right and Lego disappeared in a red flash. Turn your son into trash like you, he said, appearing right behind Kiba, and give him another kick that sent him in a different direction and then started a massacre since Naruto literally used Kiba as a ping-pong ball, giving him fists and kicks high speed without letting him touch the ground. And finally they saw how he punched him in the jaw, raising him even more to finally appear above him and say, and finally dare to mistreat Hinata, he said, kicking him against the chest, sending him crashing into the tower, leaving him in a fairly deep crater on the verge of unconsciousness. Don't faint yet, mangy dog, I haven't finished with you, he said while everyone watched as Naruto began to hit Kiba brutally in the face, and with each blow a small tremor was felt in the tower, and then he grabbed him by the neck and raised him up, showing everyone a disfigured Kiba full of blows and wounds. He had blood in various parts and some of his limbs were bent in impossible ways, and everyone saw saw who was still conscious thanks to the adrenaline of the moment. Now you are going to confess what you have done, he said, but the Inuzuka with his weak strength spit blood on Naruto's face. I didn't want to use this, but you don't leave me a choice, he said, and everyone they saw how 4 chains of chakra came out of Naruto's back and each one took a limb from Kiba and left him suspended in the air. Kato, let what you do to my father, shouted while trying to get out of the sand of the little Biju. Someone stop him, he said, but saw how everyone just looked at the act of torture with a stoic look and prevented their children from contributing the look. Tamari, boy, your disgusting father earned this, he said seriously. Naruto, never someone brutal unless the situation requires it, and your father made a serious mistake and that was messing with someone he appreciates, he said seriously, and all of you must learn that Naruto is the 6th Hokage and by law, he can also sentence a crime if you see what happens to those who do what. Kato, Izo's father said, looking at the children who only nodded a little scared but they obeyed. Naruto, now you will tell me everything, he said while his eyes changed to a pattern that everyone recognized. Tsukuyomi, Naruto said, putting Kiba in the powerful genjutsu. Tsukuyomi world. We see a world with a totally red sky and a moon with the pattern of Naruto's Sharingan, and in the middle of the ground is Kiba, who is still chained but his body is healthy and without injuries. Kiba, what is this? Where am I? He said and saw how Naruto appeared in front of him. Where you took me? Naruto, I've brought you to my world, he said with a smile. Here, everything I do to you, you'll feel it multiple times, so tell me everything you've done or suffer the consequences, he said seriously. Kiba, I won't say anything, he said seriously. Naruto, it's a shame, he said, and then made a sword appear in his hand with which he decapitated Kiba, and then 3 Kiba appeared along with another 2. Naruto's speech, he said, looking at the terrified Kiba who still refused. Well then, during the next 2 days you will know the true pain. Imagine that they are Naruto and Kiba. End chapter. Part 23. Naruto's rage, Kiba's confession, and a brutal sentence. Konoha, welcome party, Hokage Tower. We see in the Hokage Tower all the ex-partners of Naruto and Naruto himself, who is holding with his chakra chains a deformed and badly injured Kiba Inuzuka. Everyone can see how the Inuzuka complains of pain thanks to Naruto's Tsukuyomi. Choucho, mom, what did Naruto do to Kato's father? Asked Choji's daughter and Karui, who only looked at her daughter seriously. Karui, at this moment Naruto put Kiba in one of the greatest illusions in the shinobi world, only surpassed by the infinite Tsukuyomi itself, she said surprisingly to all the children who heard her. Sakura, the Tsukuyomi is practically an illusory world where its creator can do whatever he wants, she said, giving a slight explanation. Kakashi-sensei was once introduced to that genjutsu and was in a coma for a month and would have been longer if it wasn't for Lady Tsunade, she said seriously. Kato, let go of me, we must stop him, said Kiba's son, who was being held to go to the arena by a small Shukaku. Let go of me, you fucking raccoon, he said angrily. When I free myself I'll seal you, he said, without knowing that he touched a nerve of the little Biju that started to squeeze the sand around him with great force. Ah. Shukaku, how dare you, damn human, he said with a psycho voice, I'll crush you. Chome, stop Shukaku, you know that the kid is just an idiot, he said seriously, managing to stop his brother. Now let's just hope that Naruto finishes, he said, looking at the blonde Uzumaki. Inside the Tsukuyomi we see the world of Tsukuyomi, which is full of replicas of the blonde Uzumaki, all armed with swords, and an equal number of replicas of the Inuzuka who are tortured in unimaginable ways. Naruto, this is the last time I'll say it, Kiba, trust everything you've done, or I'll kill you here and now. He said seriously. That empty head of yours, he said while his hand was covered in lightning. Kiba, okay, I'll talk, he said with total terror in his eyes, but stop this already. Naruto, speak and I promise you that this torture will end, he said calmly. Kiba, well, he said with fear and helplessness, 2 years after you left another threat came to Konoha. His name was Toneri Otsutsuki, an apparent relative of the brother of the Sage of the Six Paths, he said, remembering the Otsutsuki which gave Naruto an image of the alien. He came to take Hanabi and he got it, he took her and incidentally eliminated the entire Hyuga clan, leaving only Hinata and her sister. We did a mission to rescue Hinata's silly sister, but Toneri took Hinata, saying that he wanted her as his wife and threatened to throw the moon on us. I really don't know the details since I didn't reach the moon. I only know that Sakura and Hinata beat Toneri after Hinata managed to wake up that strange eye calling Tensigen, he said seriously. Naruto, don't get off topic, go straight to the point, she said seriously. Kiba, well, after that mission the funeral of the entire Hinata clan was held and I saw my opportunity. I started to encourage her by saying corny and making her believe that I loved her, but in reality what all I wanted was all the money of the Hyuga clan, and what better way to achieve it than marrying me with the naive and stupid Hinata, he said with an arrogant and depraved smile. A year later I finally got her to marry me, but the bitch gave all the cum from the Hyuga clan to Hanabi, ruining my whole plan. So on the wedding night I drugged her and raped her since she refused to consummate the act with me, she said with anger in her eyes. After that she became pregnant with my stupid son Kato. Every day threatened that if I told someone how I got pregnant a group of the best ninjas in my clan would rape and kill Hanabi, he said with amusement. Haha, you would have seen his face when I told him the first time. I swear I saw in his eyes that desperation and at the same time the hope that you would come to help her, but you never came back. When Kato was born I added him to the threat. I told her that if she did something against me he would die along with his sister. After that I started taking advantage of all the daughters of influential men of the civil council. He drugged them, then he raped them until they got pregnant, and then he threatened to kill them and their children if they said anything. Being a clan leader sometimes has its benefits. Ha 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 ha, laughed like crazy. The Inuzuka already resigned 12 to her psychopathic personality. That is the reason why Hinata, even being the second most powerful woman in Konoha, has not yet killed me, because she knows that I have Kato and all the women and children I have threatened during the last 13 years under constant surveillance. Naruto, you're a fucking monster. How could you do something like this, he said with deep anger in his eyes. Kiba, ha ha ha, and that's not all. Wait to hear what I did to Sakura, he said with a sick smile. After the war it was learned that Kabuto stole all the documents that the institutions contained to recreate Tsunade's Byakugan, so the bitch Senju developed a serum that prevented Byakugan from healing the wounds of those who were injected with it. So 6 months ago at one of our typical group gatherings I drugged Sakura with a drug designed to put even a Jinchuriki to sleep, which I got on the black market. The plan was to do the exact same thing I've done to all the other women but dojo, while leaving everything up in the air. Naruto, what did you do, he said as he grabbed Kiba's face and put his sword on his forehead. Start now, he shouted with deep resentment. Kiba, her Byakugan eliminated the drug before time and she tried to attack me, she said seriously. So taking advantage of the fact that she was still weak from the drug, I stabbed her in the belly with a kunai totally covered by the serum that Tsunade created. I stabbed her so many times that I lost count, and then to make sure I injected a bottle of the same serum, but it turned out that the bitch was saved thanks to her medical ninjutsu. When she woke up I threatened her, telling her that if she gave me away or if she killed me my clan would kill all my previous victims, including to Hinata and her sister Hanabi, who had just become pregnant, and incidentally would start a civil war in Konoha, he said laughing. And you know it was the best of all, I left her sterile. She will never be able to have a family of her own. Even after creating an antidote for her Byakugo serum never completely healed her due to its incomplete state. That's why every time she uses it she gets sick, just like she did in her battle with those Otsutsuki today. If she keeps using it she pray ha 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 ha. Naruto, you damn, he said as he began to torture Kiba in an even more brutal way than before. I will kill you and then eliminate your entire clan from existence. There will be nothing left of you when that's finished, I swear. Shouted with total rage and anger. The woman that he loved all his life was suffering the greatest sorrow that a woman can suffer, and all the women who this imbecile mistreatment had to be hidden for fear that something would happen to them and to them. His children and Hinata were suffering from the sins of this monster. I swear that I will make you feel the same as all those women felt, I assure you. White Zetsus which began to rape the poor asshole mercilessly. You will rot in hell. Outside the Tsukuyomi, out of the illusion, everyone looked in shock after hearing Kiba confess all his crimes. The men were furious, letting their chakra auras be seen with great intensity, and the women were crying as they surrounded Sakura and Hinata, who couldn't take it anymore, and they also broke down because of the pain they felt. The children were in total shock, and in their eyes you could see the disgust. They nodded towards the Inuzuka, especially the girls. On the other hand, Kato was in total shock. His father had just admitted that he loved him dead and that he was just a bastard born from the rape of his mother, but he refused to admit it. In his mind an image was formed where the blonde Uzumaki only used genjutsu to force his father to tell lies. The boy wanted the Uzumaki dead, but everything he fell silent as they all saw Kiba convulse as foam came out of his mouth, and then saw Naruto open his eyes. Konohamaru, Naruto, let me kill him, he said with deep anger after all his wife and her baby had been threatened. Sigh, I also want a part, he said with seriousness and a look full of anger. Naruto, no, I will do it, he said with a dark tone that made them all tremble, but before that he said, and suddenly 100 clones of the blonde appeared, which with a signal from the original disappeared at an impressive speed. For the next minute they returned with a group of men all alive, but the clones full of blood after having killed the canine companions of those men. Is that all of them? He asked and received a nod from the clones. Well, I, Naruto Uzumaki Rokudame Hokage of Konohagakure, declare Kiba Inuzuka guilty of betrayal of the village, and his sentence along with that of his accomplices is death. Everyone watched as Naruto and his clones threw Kiba and his men into the sky. Then Naruto pointed his index and middle fingers at them as if he was going to shoot a gun, and a bijudama the size of marble was created, which he shot towards the group of traitors, generating an explosion that left no trace of those men. Then Naruto looked at his clones. Naruto, I want you to go to the Inuzuka compound and kill everyone who supported Kiba Inuzuka's plan. I don't care if they have to eliminate the entire clan. The only ones who go unpunished are the children and those who didn't support the cruel tactics of that monster. He said to his clones, who disappeared without a trace. Then the blonde looked at everyone present. Everyone goes home and rest. I love you all. Tomorrow at the Hokage's office at noon, and Ino, please take Sakura and Hinata with you, and what someone takes Kato to a hospital, he said, seeing how the boy was no longer conscious. Let's go guys, he said to the Bijus and their two tenants, then disappeared with them in a flash of black. Tenten, poor Naruto had never seen him so affected. She said sadly, we should have realized before everything that was happening with that damned flea, said while she helped the girls to get Hinata and Sakura up. Shikamaru, there is nothing we can do to change the things that happened, he said seriously, but in his eyes, you could see the sadness for not having detected such acts. For now let's all go to my home, there we have plenty of space and it is the place closest. After that he sent an ambu to take Kiba's son to the hospital, and everyone else went to the Nara compound to rest. End chapter.